Hey everyone, I'm here with my good friend Johnny Farrow. We are proud to announce a brand new documentary series called Loi Docs. The very first episode, we are covering one of the most infamous unsolved murder cases in American history, the Black Dahlia. Please check that out on this channel, and please follow us on Loi Docs as well.
Without fail, every time I see the U.S. Bank building, I think of Independence Day.
Oh.
When they're standing on top of it and shit.
Yeah,
and they're like...
The laser fucking
yep,
thing.
the laser just...
Hey, you know, we're here in downtown. We're going to the Biltmore Hotel, now called the Millennium Biltmore Hotel, which is allegedly or reportedly the last place that the Black Dahlia was seen in the lobby, apparently making phone calls. I'm not sure how much before they found her body, probably a couple days before. And but this was the last place she was seen alive. All right, so we're entering, or at least going to try to enter the lobby here. Again, I'm not sure if this is the original entrance to the lobby. I mean, I would imagine so. This facade is gigantic. We're going to attempt, with no promises, to go inside to see if we can see the lobby, because, you know... All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Wow, okay. All right, so we're going to do this for as long as we can. I just want to see, apparently in this very lobby. So we were told to leave as we, you know, as I expected we would be. But you know, we got to see enough of it. At least not enough, but enough for today, I guess. That's a beautiful fountain, by the way. We got to see the lobby as brief as we were in there. Beautiful lobby, smells great. I think it's largely unchanged since the 1940s. They may have obviously upgraded a few things, but aside from the facades, I think they're almost all original. But I think in that little alcove that we were just entering is where they used to have the phones that you'd make outgoing calls and all that. And it was in that area, reportedly, where Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, was last seen. Reportedly making frantic phone calls a couple days before her body was discovered, not far from where we are now, which is where we're going to be stopping in a little bit here. So, yeah, this is the Biltmore. Classic hotel. Been here, I think, since the late 1800s. So, a lot of famous people used to stay here. And a lot of untimely people as well have been in and out of these doors. So, I don't know why I smiled after that. And, yeah, that's the Biltmore Hotel. Classic. All right, so a little bit of a little Easter egg. I'm going to attempt to go to the bathroom because I drink a lot of water. So we're not going to be able to film that for obvious reasons, but I'm going to have to go back in the hotel now rather awkwardly to go to the bathroom. Again, not filming it, but we're heading back inside the lobby. So the gentleman that politely told us to leave, I asked him where the bathroom was, and I asked him a few questions about the facade of the lobby, which he said is, like I said earlier, which is unchanged since the 1940s. But I just said, like, you know, hey, like, you know, we were just still filming enough stuff for the Black Dahlia. He's like, oh, well, right across from the restroom is a picture of the Black Dahlia and all that. And I'm not kidding you, it was so eerie. I walked to the bathroom. There's a lobby. There was just an old couple, like, looking at all the pictures, all these Hollywood stars that have been here, Oscar winners and all that. And I go to the men's restroom. There's not a soul in there. And right across from the men's restroom is Elizabeth Short's picture, and stating exactly, you know, which is, it's just common knowledge at this point, but she was last seen in the lobby making phone calls. She's supposed to meet her sister here, and that's where she was last seen. It was kind of creepy in a weird way, like no one around. had a soul in the bathroom, and then her photo right where I needed to go. Anyway. In the 1940s, this was all undeveloped land, and this was more or less an industrial zone that just had open fields on it. And we're actually turning on the street now where Elizabeth Short's body was found. It's a little awkward filming here because it's now a residential street, a really sleepy kind of, quiet street by all looks of it. But it's someone's front lawn now, so it makes for some interesting viewing to come here and, just see what now has been built up over the decades since her death. And just see it just be this really kind of sleepy little suburban-esque area of Los Angeles. And I always wonder, especially for the homeowner that owns the property where we're going to be going here in a second, they must have so many internet sleuths, true crime fanatics, and just people that just like this case stopping in just so they can come over here. I'm sure it's got to be annoying. All right, so here we are. We're actually at the spot right over there, and that freshly tailored green grass is where Elizabeth Short's body, the Black Dahlia, was found in January 1947. Her body was found presented, bifurcated or bisected down the middle of the abdomen, and almost completely drained of blood. And it was just left in a way to be found. It wasn't anything where it was meant to be covered up and obscured. It was meant to be found. It was on display, as it were. So it's kind of interesting to be in a spot like this, which is now a really sleepy, quiet suburban street here in Los Angeles, but to have that kind of history right here. I always think to myself, what the homeowner, or at least I imagine there's been several since that time, what they think about, owning property or being right next to one of the most infamous murder sites probably in American history. There's obviously nothing to indicate, that sort of history to it now, but just knowing it and seeing it, it adds a whole, layer of depth to what otherwise would be a completely well-tailored piece of grass. So, yeah. Again, I'm not entirely sure where it was found, but I think it was on this section of the grass, so over here. It was pretty ghastly. You guys can find pictures online of various, not angles of the full body, thankfully, but of the Grisly, is that a word? The Grisly crime scene. So, but this is the area where it was found, and now it's just a residential street and a really quiet area of Los Angeles. But at the time in the 1940s, this was all open fields, industrial zone. And over the years, this has become a sort of like a pilgrimage for people who are interested in the case to come to this particular spot and film this piece of LA history that, as ghastly as it is, it's part of the I don't know, the kind of the Hollywood, kind of the the underbelly, the ugly underbelly of Hollywood, where someone from a different part of the country comes out here seeking whatever, fortune, fame, whatever, and they're young, beautiful, and they come out here and they find themselves in a field. So we just got back inside from just filming kind of like the site proper, but I just kind of want to just look at some before and after images as we were just getting back in the car. I had forgotten, just because I also want to look like at the actual location, more or less, where she was found. I can't really show some of these because I forget, some of these images are quite, I don't mean to laugh, I just find it amazing that they're just on Google Images of how graphic some of the images are. I'll show the more like, more, I would say more presentable ones, if you will. But she also had been slashed, in addition to being like, bisected across the abdomen. She had been, her mouth on either side of where her mouth was, it had been like 2 or 3 inches sliced up, like she was like the Joker. They sliced each of her cheeks up to almost like right here, where her mandible would be, and that was just sliced up completely. She was like jack-o'-lanterned, if you will, as crude as a term that is. Yeah, it was, yeah. But these images are, oh my God, oh, dear Lord, I'll show you this one off camera. Oh my God. It was this weird kind of homicidal, performance art piece for the person or persons responsible. Which, by the way, we're going to head to supposedly the house where some people that follow the case heavily say that, this very crime took place and her body was transported here later. So we're going to go there now. But yeah, this being here, like any site where, like something really bad happened, it has like this aura to it, this permeable, I don't know, there's something to it. There's like a history here. But it's amazing to see people live here. Like this is, for other people, this is just home. This is just, I'm sure kids have played on that lawn. I'm sure people have had parties, picnics. It's crazy to me to think about, like that juxtaposition of, just time change and oceans of time and what people are doing on, pieces of property. It's crazy. It kind of brings it all back for the people that care about it or, know about it or whatever. I'm sure some people that have really studied the case will be like,
"You're actually on the wrong lawn."
Yeah, we're heading now. I'll talk about like, the house proper when we get there. But just we were just talking about, the Black Dahlia case and just, that time with criminality and actually the ability to convict someone of a crime. Those conviction rates were very low because most violent crimes, either if they were solved at all, it took a long time, but most of them were not. And that has a large part to do with, obviously, the limited technology at the time. You pretty much had to catch someone red-handed to have any hope of finding a conviction. The heyday of the Sunset Strip in the 30s and 40s, those clubs were bankrolled by mobsters. Bugsy Siegel probably being the most famous example of that, who had an incredible club that attracted, all of the glitz and glamour and Hollywood stars of the day. But, and when you're a gangster, you want protection from, what you're doing, because, what you're doing isn't legal. So the best way to do that is to make sure that the people that would be holding you accountable, police officers and judges, they're all in your back pocket. With that, all that stuff happening, I'm not saying that, that's all yesteryear. There's plenty of stuff that happens like that, I'm sure, these days. But man, the 1940s was not a good time for most people. It's estimated that violent crime, homicide, that had a solve rate. I'm forgetting the actual terminology, what they would actually refer to it as, but most of those crimes, I can't give it like, an actual like percentile because I would just be making it up. Oh shit. I think the worst decade for solving crime when records were being kept, I think was the 80s, but don't quote me on that. I have to turn right here. And the 1940s, when, the best way to catch a criminal was to be there. Since we didn't see the guy doing it, I guess we can. I think they had fingerprints, but I don't think it was it's definitely not as sophisticated as it is now. But there was really nothing else. I mean, they would just be like, well, there's blood on the floor here, and there's blood on the guy's shirt, so that kind of works. How can you not have a case be compromised when you have a lot of it? When a case attracts a lot of media attention, you can't possibly have, you can't make a mistake, and if you do, it'll just be heavily scrutinized, as it should be, but decidedly more so, because the court of public opinion is always wide open. You can give somewhat of an estimate of how bad it was, and as I'm sure most of you will probably think, it was pretty bad. I'm really becoming you. Like our cadence my cadence rather, could not be more like yours. The way we start and stop, the way we the way we form sentences, and it's yeah. I'm turning into you.
Sandwich.
What?
Make sure you have a sandwich.
Don't know what that means, but yeah, yeah. I'm assuming that's what you're eating right now as you smack your lips.
Oh, Twizzler.
Okay. All right, Dad. Well, listen, we're gonna wrap up here in a little bit. I'll call you when I'm out of here. All right, Dad. Bye. Okay, so where we at now, if I can speak, where we are at right now, this is the third site on this Black Dahlia excursion. We're going to go see supposedly the house where the actual crime took place of her murder. This house is called the John Sowden house because that's who used to own it. So we're going to go over there now and see what it looks like currently, although I'm sure it's going to be obstructed by foliage and it's behind a wall. So we'll get as much as we can, but I'll talk more about the actual house and its history and its relation to the actual case of the Black Dahlia when we get out there. But I've never seen it before. I've probably driven past it and never realized that I had. And in fact, I'm sure I have, because I've been on this street before. This is Franklin Avenue in Hollywood. It's a busy thoroughfare. This street's always busy with traffic and stuff. I never knew anything about this house, but it has a really interesting architecture and all that. We'll see it, but it's gonna be real fun. Nothing like warm water on a hot day. Perfect. Okay, so here we are. We're at the John Sowden house here, directly right behind me. That's the name of this house. The reason it's called that is that's the person who used to own it. He was a painter in 1920s. This house was built in 1926, which means next year it'll be 100 years old. So this house was built by the famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright's son, Lloyd Wright. And it was part of like this Mayan revival architecture that kind of permeated that time. It was popular at the time to design the houses that way. And the house has a few names, few monikers. One probably most famously is the Jaws house, because the facade, the Mayan facade built out of, I'm not sure exactly what that is. It looks like a shark's face, a shark's jaws. So it's called the Jaws house as a moniker out here in LA. But as it relates to the Black Dahlia case, in the 1940s, it was owned by a man called Dr. George Hodel, who from 1945 to 1950 owned this very home. And it was his son, who was an LAPD detective, years later, decades later, in the 1990s, I believe, said that he felt that his father, based on some circumstantial evidence, felt that he was responsible and the one who actually killed Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. Evidence, of course, after that many decades is rather circumstantial, but this house has been a slew of interest. It's had many films filmed at it. The Aviator, Martin Scorsese movie, was famously filmed here. And the house actually has secret rooms, which also kind of led to the mystery of the house itself. But unfortunately, we can't go inside due to us not being, invited in. But just from looking at it from the outside, it has an austereness that I think cannot be denied. And it's sitting right here in Hollywood. In fact, if you didn't even, if you just happen to be on your phone, which many of us are these days, and you walk right past, you'd blink and you'd miss it. But it is right here. So much history. Been here for almost 100 years now. And it has a unfortunate connection to one of the most famous crimes in LA history. I don't know. I want to get in there and just investigate and just if nothing else, just to kind of see all those things that would, that'd be there. But entire rooms that were just completely secret that only the person who designed the house would know about, and obviously the people that owned it. But yeah, there's something really special about it. And also just kind of with a more modern day take on it. It's also millions of dollars more expensive than other homes in the area that have sold by millions, not just not by a couple thousand, but by millions. Like the house goes for, I won't say actually. It's you guys can look it up if you want, but houses in the area are going for millions less than that house over there. It's also had a lot of movies filmed in it too, like I mentioned. So there's probably also that. But man, if you got deep pockets, it's not on the market right now, but who knows one day. But all right, so I'm entering what looks to be an abandoned parking lot, and you're probably asking why. And that's because in 1947, this used to be an apartment building that no longer is here. And it's just literally an abandoned parking lot. But where once stood an apartment building that used to house many people, including Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. She was here for about 6 months or so. I'm not sure if she was only here for 6 months, but she lived at least for a little bit of her time here in LA in a building that no longer is standing. And actually right across the street, so this would be on the opposite side of the wall behind me, is a place that she used to work at called Florentine Gardens, which is still there. I just like how there's flowers in the middle of an abandoned parking lot. I've never seen a parking lot look abandoned before. Like, there is, despite the gates being open, by the way, there is not a car in here. But just dying flowers in the middle of an empty parking lot. There's something really kind of, I don't know, emblematic of, I don't know, LA itself. But yeah, this is the parking lot where a building once stood and where I'm sure many people had lives and comings and goings, but its connection to the Black Dahlia is here. And we're going to pop over now to the Florentine Gardens section, which is the club she worked at, and see what that looks like. All right, so right to my left is, as you probably can read, Florentine Gardens, a nightclub that only operates very minimally these days for special events, but during its heyday, it was one of the premier places to be in LA in the 1940s, and it was where Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, worked as a waitress, a cocktail waitress, entertaining the glitz and glamour, the popular celebrities of the day. All manner of anyone who was anyone came to this place and had a cocktail and danced the night away. This is one of the premier spots, at least it was. Now it looks like a rather dilapidated building, but it has a sheer amount of history that's fascinating all its own. But its connection to the Black Dahlia is well documented, and like I was mentioning earlier, her used to be apartment building, now a parking lot, is directly behind this very building. So it still stands to this day, albeit now without some damage. All right, so there you go. We got to go to 4 places in LA that I'd never been to before, and they all relate to the Black Dahlia case, which is, I find fascinating. So yeah, buildings that aren't there, you know, just sights and sounds of history that relate to a cold case, probably the most famous in the country. Yeah, it was a real nice pilgrimage of sorts, all new to me, so really interesting stuff. I really hope I'm not laying in dog shit right now. So that's the Black Dahlia. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. We'll be doing regular uploads on our main YouTube channel, Loi Docs. Please make sure to subscribe there for regular content uploads. We'll see you in the next one. Did you subscribe yet?